I've completed crocheting my rib stitch. I've worked a total of 6 rows along with the one that we started with the double crochet all around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. Okay, I've worked a slip stitch in the end of my 6th row. Now I'm going to close my work, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop and tighten up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on our sleeves. Now we're going to start crocheting around our sleeves, and what we want to do before we start crocheting is we want to count the total number of half double crochet that I have all around my sleeve. For my sleeve I have a total of 55 stitches, and I have started to count from the half double crochet down here on the underarm right over here. Okay, now as you see over here, I have a loop coming out on the right side of that stitch and a loop coming out on the left side. Those two loops are not stitches. Okay, once you put your hook right here in the center under the sleeve, the next stitch you're going to crochet is this half double crochet over here. And make sure you're looking at the correct side of your stitches. Okay, this right here is the side where I'm going to start crocheting all around. When I'm looking on the right side of the stitches is right here. If I would start crocheting on the inside of the sleeve, see how right here I'm seeing the good side of the half double crochet, and the hole that I'm supposed to be putting my crochet hook into is not that visible. Okay, so we do not want to start crocheting on this side. I want to start crocheting on this side where the stitches that I'm putting my hook into are visible. Here, 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 and so on. So what I want you to do, you're going to count all of your stitches, and I have a total of 55 stitches along with the stitch down here where I'm going to attach my yarn. This stitch, even though it is a stitch, it's not going to be counted as one of my stitches as I'm crocheting around. So automatically I have a total of 54 half double crochet. Okay, now I'm going to take the total number of stitches and I'm going to divide it by 2. 54 divided by 2 is 27. This means that I'm going to crochet together the 26th and 27th stitches, and then starting to count from the beginning again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I reach the 26th and 27th stitch, which are going to be the last 2 stitches, I am going to crochet them together again. So for example, if the total number of stitches is 60, you divide that by 2 and the result is 30. This means that you're going to work your decrease on the 29th and the 30th stitch. So you want to crochet together the stitch that's before of the number that you have as a result and that number as well. Let's say you have 58 half double crochet. If you divide that by 2, the total the result is 29. Okay, so you will work 2 decreases, starting to count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to crochet together the 28th and the 29th stitch, and then again starting to count from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, the 28th and 29th stitch are going to be worked together. Okay, so I have a total of 54 stitches. I divided that number by 2. The result is 27. So I'm going to work a total of 2 decreases all around. The first one is going to be the 26th and 27th, starting to count from number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 26th and 27th again are going to be worked together. So I'm going to take the yarn, pull it through this stitch that's right down here in the middle where I joined the 2 sides together, and I'm going to chain 2. Okay, now I'm going to start crocheting from the first half double crochet. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a stitch. This is the first stitch I'm going to crochet into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and keep crocheting up until you reach the 25th stitch. Then I'm going to turn my video back on to crochet together the 26th and 27th stitch. I've crocheted up until the 25th stitch. Now the next two stitches, the 26th and 27th, are going to be worked together. So when we work a half double crochet decrease, I'm wrapping my yarn over my hook once, as I always do to work a half double crochet. Put your hook in the 26th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and hold the 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over once, put your hook in the 27th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and have a total of 5 loops on my hook. Yarn over once, pull through all of those 5 loops. Now those 2 stitches count as 1. Okay, I'm going to start counting from 1 again from the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, and keep crocheting up until you have your 25 stitches. Then I'm going to turn the video back on to work the 26th and 27th together again. I've worked my 25 half double crochet so far, and I'm left with the last 2 stitches of the row. 1, 2. As I mentioned earlier, this does not count as one of the stitches. Okay, the loop that's coming out on the right side of the stitch that I have attached my yarn. So I have 25 half double crochet. Now I'm going to put my hook in the 26th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and hold the loops on your hook. Yarn over once, put your hook in the 27th stitch. Okay, and hold your loops on your hook. I have a total of 5 loops. Yarn over once and close all 5 loops together. Now those 2 stitches became 1. I am going to close my row by slip stitching in the second chain, counting from the bottom. Okay, started with 2 chains, so in the second chain counting from the bottom, work your slip stitch. Okay, now chain 2 to start our new row. So what I did now is I had 54 stitches to begin with. I've worked a total of 2 decreases, one over here and one down here. What this means, when I close together the 2 stitches, they give me 1. So when I close 2 stitches down here, it gave me 1 stitch again. So out of the 54 stitches that I had when I started, now I have a total of 52 half double crochet all around. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to work 3 rows with 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to have 3 rows of 52 stitches. Now I've chained 2 and I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to start working on the inside of the sleeve. It's very important every time you start a new row that you turn your work. This way you're going to have a straight seam under your sleeve. If you do not turn your work and you continue going all around, you're going to have a diagonal seam and it's going to look very, very bad on your work. Okay? So I've chained 2 and start working from the first half double crochet right here. 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you have 52 stitches. I've worked my 52 stitches all around. I've worked in the last half double crochet over here, and now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the second chain counting from the bottom. Okay, I'm going to put my hook in that second chain and I'm going to work a slip stitch, chain 2, and I'm going to start the new row. Every time we start a new row, we're turning our work. So now I'm going to work on the outside of the sleeve. Okay, I'm going to work a total of 52 stitches. When I work the slip stitch in the end of the row, again I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to start crocheting on the inside of the sleeve for another 52 stitches. So every time I finish my work, it's very important to turn my work so I have a straight seam under the sleeve. Now, we have worked one row of one half double crochet in every stitch together. We're going to work the next two off camera, one stitch in every stitch, and then the next row is going to be a row of decrease, which we're going to work together. So what we want to do when we work a sleeve of half double crochet, we want to work 3 rows of one stitch in every stitch. In the 4th row we work the decrease, then 3 rows, one half double crochet in every stitch. In the 4th row I'm working my decrease. Okay, so once I complete the 2 rows of camera, I'm going to turn my video back on to work again the decrease together. I've completed working my 2 rows of camera. I've worked a slip stitch. Okay, now I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work. Now this row is going to be a row of decrease. Now I have a total of 52 stitches all around. I'm going to divide that number by 2 and the result is 26. So what this means is that the 25th and 26th stitch I'm going to work together. I'm going to work the decrease and I'm going to work this step a total of 2 times because I divide my number by 2. This means that I'm dividing in half my stitches. So 52 divided by 2 is 26. Okay, so I'm working the 25th and 26th stitches together. So I'm going to start crocheting from the first half double crochet of this row, which is this stitch over here. 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, and I'm going to keep crocheting up until I reach the 24th stitch. I'm going to turn my video back on to work the decrease together. I've reached my 24th stitch. Now we're going to work our decrease. So yarn over once. What we're going to do is we're going to crochet together the 25th and 26th stitches to form the decrease. So yarn over once, put your hook in the 25th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, yarn over once, put your hook in the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and have a total of 5 loops on my hook, which I'm going to close them together. Okay, so this was my decrease. Now, starting from the next stitch right over here, I'm going to start counting from 1 again. 1, next stitch, 2, and keep crocheting up until you reach your 24th stitch again. And I'm going to turn my video back on to work the 25th and 26th stitches together. I've worked my 24 stitches. Now I'm going to yarn over once. I'm going to put my hook in my 25th stitch and then in the 26th. So put your hook in the 25th stitch, hold the loops on your hook, yarn over once, put your hook in the 26th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch and hold the loops, and we have a total of 5 loops which we're going to close together to form the decrease. Now counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in the second chain and work your slip stitch, chain 2, and turn your work. Now we're going to work on the inside of the sleeve. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the next 3 rows of camera, which are going to be 1 half double crochet in every stitch. Make sure in every row that you start that you turn your work. This way you can have a straight seam down here. Now, when I started this row, I had a total of 52 stitches. Although I worked, even though I had the 52 stitches, I worked my 2 decreases, one down here and one in the middle, which every time that I work a decrease, that I work 2 stitches together, I'm left with 1. So out of the 52 stitches that I had, now I'm left with only 50 stitches. So I'm going to work 3 rows of 50 stitches, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to start again with the decrease, which is going to be the last decrease that we're going to work together, and then we're going to continue working off camera. So every time that we work the row of decreases, we subtract the total of 2 stitches out of the total that we have on our row. I've completed my 3 rows of 50 half double crochet. I've worked a slip stitch, chain 2, and I'm going to turn my work. Okay, now I have a total of 50 stitches all around. I am going to divide that number by 2 and the result is 25. This means that every time I'm going to work the 24th and 25th stitches together, and I'm going to work that step 2 times. Okay, starting to work from the first half double crochet, 1, next stitch, 2, next one, 3. I'm going to keep crocheting off camera up until I reach the 24th stitch, the 23rd stitch, sorry. Then I'm going to turn my video back on to work the 24th and 25th together. I've worked my 23 half double crochet. Now we're going to work together the 24th and 25th. Yarn over once, put your hook in your 24th stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, yarn over once, put your hook in the 25th, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch. We have 5 loops, which we're going to close together. And those 2 stitches count as one now. Start working from the next stitch, 1, next stitch, 2, up until I reach my 23rd half double crochet. Okay, then I'm going to turn my video back on to work for a last time together the decrease. I've worked my 23 stitches. Now I'm going to put my hook in the 24th, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, put your hook, yarn over once, put your hook in the last stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch. I have 5 loops, crochet them together, okay, close them together, and put your hook in the second chain counting from the bottom, and work your slip stitch, chain 2, and turn your work. Okay, now we're going to start working on the inside of the sleeve. Now we're going to work the rest of the sleeve off camera. This is how our sleeve looks like. Okay, see how nice and symmetrical it has started to close. Now what I want you to understand is that after every row of decreases, we work 3 rows with 1 stitch in every stitch. In this case, I'm left with only 48 stitches because I had 50. I worked 2 decreases, so I subtracted a total of 2 stitches out of the total stitches that I have, so the 50 became 48. I'm going to work 3 rows with 48 stitches. Then in the 4th row, I'm going to work my decrease. So I'm going to divide that number by 2. The result is going to be 24. So this means the 23rd and 24th stitches I'm going to work together. And the 48 stitches are going to become 46. Then I'm going to work 3 rows with 46 stitches. Then I'm going to work a row of decreases. I'm going to divide 46 by 2. The result is 23. This means the 22nd and 23rd stitches are going to be worked together, and the 46 stitches are going to become 44. I'm going to work 3 rows with 44 stitches. Then I'm going to divide that number by 2, and I'm going to work in the 4th row. I'm going to work my decreases. So the 44 stitches I'm going to divide by 2. The result is going to be 21. This means the 20th and 21st stitch are going to be worked together. The 42 stitches are going to become 40. So I'm going to work 3 rows of 40 stitches and so on. So I'm going to keep working my rows. Make sure every time you turn your work this way. Right here in the underarm, over here we have a straight seam. If you kept working all around, the seam would become diagonal, and in the end it would come in the front of the sleeve, which would look very, very bad. Okay, so keep working the sleeve off camera. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I've completed crocheting my sleeve, and from the top, from the shoulder up here, up to the bottom, it's a total of 57 centimeters, and it reaches about here on my hand, okay, on my arm. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crochet the rib stitch for the sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to work 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to turn my work. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to crochet 1 double crochet in every stitch all around. 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5 and keep crocheting 1 double crochet all around up until you reach your last stitch over here. I've completed crocheting all around. I have a total of 33 double crochet, and I'm going to put my hook in the first stitch, which is the third chain counting from the bottom to the top, and work a slip stitch. Now, if you worked this row on the outside of the sleeve as I did, then you're going to work the rib stitch without turning your work at all anymore, okay? If you worked this row on the inside of the sleeve, you're going to turn your work and you won't turn it after this row ever again, okay, up until you finish your sleeve. So I'm going to start by chaining 2, and the reason that I chain 2 instead of 3 now is because I'm going to be working my front posts. The total height of the double crochet gets shorter, so the height of the double crochet becomes the same as a half double crochet, and this is why I always chain 2 when I work the rib stitch. So the first stitch, sorry, I'm going to work a front post double crochet. So I'm going to put my hook from the front to the back on the right side of the stitch, to the front again on the left side. So I'm pulling outwards my double crochet, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. So I'm going to put my hook from the back to the front on the right side and to the back again. So I'm pulling backwards my stitch, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a front post. So I'm going to put my hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post. So I'm going to put my hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, so I'm pulling backwards, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to work a double crochet. Okay, so keep working 1 front post and 1 back post all around. Once I finish my row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting all around. My last stitch was a back post. Okay, now make sure this right here is not a stitch in which I'm going to work a front post or a back post. These are the 3 chains in which on this row that I started, I worked the 2 chains on top of these. So it's not a stitch that I'm going to work a back post or a front post. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet for this row, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. Now I'm going to start row number 3. So I'm going to chain 2 again, and I'm going to start working my front posts and my back posts. The first stitch was a front post, so I'm going to keep working a front post on top of this stitch. So you want to keep the same direction of the stitches throughout the rows up until we finish working the bottom of our sleeve. Okay, so the first stitch is a front post. So again, I'm going to put my hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is a back post, but the stitch is not visible at all. So I'm going to pull up the stitch, and I'm going to put my hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a front post, so I'm going to put my hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is a back post, so again pull up your stitches so they are visible. Okay, and work your back post double crochet. So keep working 1 front post, 1 back post up until you reach your last stitch. My last stitch was a back post, so again in this row I'm going to have a back post double crochet again. So as you go through to work the rows of the rib stitch, you're going to have a perfect cuff on the bottom of your sleeve, and it's going to start to get narrower by itself by working the rib stitch. Okay, so once I finish row number 3, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed working the 3rd row. Now again, I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet for this row and slip stitch. Now I'm going to keep working 1 front post, 1 back post, 1 front post, 1 back post for an extra 3 rows. We already worked 3 rows together. Now I'm going to work 3 more rows. So I'm going to have a total of 6 rows for the cuff of the sleeve. So once I finish the other 3 rows, I'm going to turn the video back on to see how the sleeve looks completed and how we're going to work around a few rows around the neckline to finish up our sweater. I've completed crocheting my whole sleeve, and see how nice and symmetrically it closes down as we go through the sleeve. Okay, this is why we work our decreases in every fourth row. If we would work this decreases in every second row, for example, the decreases would finish up here, and then we would have to work one stitch in every stitch, and it would look very ugly because it would look like this as we go through up to the elbow, and then we would have a straight sleeve up until the end, and the result wouldn't be as nice. So we have a straight scheme over here because we were turning our work in every row, and see how it gets a little narrower by working the 6 rows of the rib stitch over here. So after the last slip stitch you're going to work, chain 1, cut the yarn, and fasten off. Okay, so now I'm going to work the other sleeve off camera in the same exact way, and once I finish I'm going to work around the neckline. I've completed crocheting all of my sweater, and it's impossible to show it under the camera, so I've completed both of my sleeves. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my sweater, and I want to have the back side in front of me. Okay, so the V-stitch is right here, and I have the back side in front of me. So what I want to do now is I want to put my crochet hook somewhere in the center. Okay, let me zoom in so you can see where I'm crocheting. So somewhere back here in the center, put your hook to attach the yarn. So what we're going to do now is we are going to crochet on the leftover loops that we had on our beginning, on our foundation chain. So let's start. I'm going to take my yarn and attach it. So I'm going to grab it with my crochet hook and pull it through the stitch. Okay, and I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, because I'm going to work double crochet. So now if you're afraid you're going to miss your stitches, or you're afraid that you're going to work more than one double crochet in each leftover loops of every chain, you can align it with the half double crochet that we worked in the first row and work your stitch. Next stitch, align the next half double crochet and work one double crochet on the chain stitch. Again, align with the next stitch, put your hook in there and work a double crochet. So keep working one double crochet in every chain stitch. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to keep working one double crochet in every stitch. Once you reach the stitch over here where we worked the increase for the sleeve, you're going to work only one double crochet again, one double crochet in every chain stitch. Okay, again here in the increase you're gonna work only one double crochet, and once you finish crocheting, once I finish crocheting on top of every chain stitch, and it's time for me to start working downwards on the neckline, on the V opening, I'm gonna turn my video back on. So I'm gonna crochet one double crochet on every chain up until I reach over here where I'm gonna start working on the neckline, on the V opening, going downwards. Okay, I've completed working around the foundation chain on the top of the neck over here, and I opened up, I zoomed out because I want to show where I crocheted and how I'm going to continue. So this is what I've done so far. I crocheted up here on the back of my neck. Okay, one double crochet in every chain stitch. Right here, which is the last increase, I worked one double crochet and one more double crochet in the last chain that I worked, because if you recall, we worked the increase, and after the increase I had only one chain left in which I had worked the last stitch. Okay, so what I'm going to do from now on, I'm going to be crocheting horizontally on top of the half double crochet. Now when we work on top of the half double crochet, it's a little tricky, because if I work only one stitch on top of every first half double crochet of every row, the stitches are not enough and my work is going to shrink. If I work 2 double crochet, 2 stitches on top of every half double crochet. The stitches are too many and my work is going to start to get wavy. So what I'm going to do is on one row I'm going to be working 1 double crochet. In the next row I'm going to be working 2 double crochet. So now how we're going to see in which row I'm going to work the 1 double crochet and in which the 2. So everywhere that the first stitch is the half double crochet, I'm going to be working 1 stitch inside the half double crochet, and right here in the hole after the stitch over here 1 more double crochet. Then everywhere that the beginning of the row is the chain 2, because if you recall when we were working the increases my work was open, so I was turning my work every time that I started a new row. So the 2 chains, which means that right here was the beginning of the row, I'm gonna work only 1 double crochet. The hole right here after the 2 chains I am not going to crochet into. Then I have the half double crochet in which I'm gonna work 1 double crochet in the stitch and 1 double crochet right here in the hole over here. Then again I have the 2 chains, so under the 2 chains I'm gonna work only 1 double crochet, skip the hole over here in the left and go right ahead on top of the half double crochet inside here and work 1 double crochet. Then 1 more double crochet right here in the hole, and then again I reached the chain 2. Under the chain 2 work 1 double crochet, skip the hole over here and go right ahead in the half double crochet. Okay, so this is how we're going to work the rows. Okay, so 1 half double crochet inside the half double crochet, 1 half double crochet in the hole under it. Now reach the chain 2 space, only 1 double crochet under the chain 2 space. Okay, skip the hole that's after the chain 2 space and go right ahead in the half double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Okay. Okay. Now in the hole that's after the half double crochet, work 1 more double crochet. And now I've reached the chain 2 space that's right over here. Work only 1 double crochet. Skip this hole over here and go over to the next half double crochet and work 1 stitch. After this half double crochet over here, I have a hole right next to it, so I'm going to work my second double crochet on top of that stitch and go right ahead under the chain 2 space over here and work only 1 double crochet. Skip the hole that's after it and go right ahead on the half double crochet. Work 1 stitch, 1 stitch in the hole right next to it, and I've reached my chain 2 space over here, which I'm going to work only 1 double crochet. Skip the hole that's right next to it and go right ahead in the half double crochet. Okay, so keep working up until you reach down here the end of the right side of the V-neck, of the neckline over here. Once I reach down here in the last stitch, I'm going to turn my video to see how we're going to start working going upwards. I've completed working the whole right side of the V-neck and see how nice the double crochet gave a nice edging here on my half double crochet. So I've worked up until the last stitch on the right side. Okay, now this right here is the center where I worked the slip stitch to join the 2 sides when I was working the top part of my sweater. Okay, I am not going to crochet in this center over here. I'm going to go right ahead on the left side and work the first double crochet. Okay, and I'm going to keep working on the left side going upwards, following the same steps as I did when I was going downwards. So keep working the same pattern as we did on the right side. Now once you reach up here, the first chain, you're going to work 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet in the increase, 1 double crochet in every single chain from our beginning foundation chain, okay? And once I reach here where I'm going to work in the last chain of the neckline, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close the row, how to finish the row, and how to start the second and last row to finish our sweater, okay, to make a nice rib stitch all around, to leave a nice edging on the neckline as well. Now going upwards, I turned my video before I finish the row because I'm afraid that you're going to get confused. Once you go upwards to work the left side of the V-neck, the stitches are opposite as they were when we were going downwards. What I want to say, what I mean is that once I work under my chain 2, then I go right ahead and I do work in the next hole because it's my half double crochet. I work in the hole right after that stitch. I work inside the half double crochet, and the hole that I skip is the one that I work after the half double crochet. So skip this hole and go right ahead under the chain 2, work 1 double crochet, go in the hole that's right next to it because it's my half double crochet, work inside the half double crochet, so right over here in the next hole. After the second stitch that I work in the half double crochet, skip this hole right over here and go right away under the chain 2 and work your 1 double crochet. Okay, go right away in the next hole because it's my half double crochet and work your stitch right in the next hole to work inside the half double crochet. Skip the hole right over here and go right away in the chain 2. Okay, now go ahead in the next hole right away because it's the half double crochet in the hole that's next to it to work inside the stitch. Skip the hole that's after the half double crochet and go right away on your chain 2 and work your 1 double crochet. Work a stitch after the chain 2 in the hole because, okay, after the chain 2, go right away in the next hole and work your double crochet in the next hole as well to work your second stitch on top of that double crochet. Skip this hole and go right away on your chain 2 and work 1 double crochet, 1 stitch in the hole right next to it because it's my half double crochet, your second stitch on top of that double crochet, on top of that half double crochet, sorry. Skip the next hole, go right away under the chain 2 and work your 1 double crochet. Okay, right away in the next stitch because it's the half double crochet, work 1 stitch inside the half double crochet, and I've reached the top, I've reached the neck, in which I'm going to work 1 double crochet in the first chain, 1 double crochet in the second chain, which is the increase. Okay, and keep working 1 double crochet on top of each chain stitch up here up until you finish. So I turned the video back on before this stitch that I mentioned because I was afraid that you were going to get confused because the stitches are opposite than the ones as we were going downwards. When you go upwards, they were a little different, so this is why I wanted to explain it. So go ahead and finish the row. When I work my slip stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting up until the last chain stitch. See right here, this is my next stitch over here. Okay, which is the chain 3 where I started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet, which is the 3rd chain counting from the bottom, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. Now chain 2, and I'm going to start working 1. This is my last row, which is going to be the row of the rib stitch. So the first double crochet, I'm going to work a front post. So I'm going to work the rib stitch in the same exact way that I worked my cuffs, in the same exact way that I worked the bottom of my sweater. So the first stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post. Next stitch is a front post, double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post. So keep crocheting one front post and one back post, okay, going downwards. Now I'm going to turn my video back on when the last stitch I'm going to crochet is the last stitch here on the left side of my V opening. Once I reach the spot where I'm going to have to work those two stitches, the last stitch on the left side and the first stitch on the right side, I'm going to turn my video back on, because those two stitches I am going to close together, because if I close them separately, one stitch here and one stitch here, it's going to give me an ugly wave. The one stitch is going to try to step on top of the other and it's going to look ugly on the bottom of my V opening. So I want to close those two stitches together. It's going to be a front post or a back post, I don't know. I'm going to know once I reach down here, and then I'm going to keep working my front posts and my back posts up until I finish. So once I reach this stitch over here, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've reached the spot that I mentioned before I turned my video off. So see right here, the last stitch before, here's the last stitch going downwards, and this is the first stitch going upwards. So the last stitch before those two was a back post double crochet. Now depending on the size that you're making and the rows that you have crocheted, the last stitch here for you might be a front post. So I'm gonna work the two. I'm gonna work both to see how you would work those two stitches if this stitch was a front post. Okay, so right here I have a back post, so the next stitch I want it to be a front post. So I'm gonna yarn over once and I'm gonna put my hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, but I'm grabbing both stitches and I'm gonna close them together as one. Okay, and it's a front post double crochet. So since this is a front post over here, the next stitch is going to be a back post, front post, back post, and so on. Okay, now if you're Now, if your last stitch before those two right over here was a front post, then the center you want it to be a back post. So you're going to put your hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, and you're closing together by pulling backwards those two center stitches, and you're working your double crochet. Okay, and you're working your double crochet. So since this is a back post, then you're going to continue with front post, back post, front post, back post, and so on. And once I reach up here where I'm going to work my last stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on to crochet together the slip stitch, and we're going to see how our sweater looks finally completed. I've completed crocheting all around. My last stitch was a back post. Now put your hook in the first double crochet for this row, slip stitch, chain one, cut the yarn, and fasten off. Okay, and this is how our V-neck sweater will look like. And see how nice the neckline looks all around that we worked the two rows of the double crochet of the rib stitch. Okay, we do not want to work more rows than the two that I just made, because it's not going to look nice right here in the center. So the two rows that we worked just now, they do not only give a nice touch in the edges over here, but they also pull together all the stitches so it's nice and warm on the shoulders and on the back of our neck. Okay, so this is how our sweater looks like completed. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.